Welcome to the True Demon Lord show. I am, of course, the True Demon Lord Franco, and today we are having another Meta Monday. We're going to take a look at some of the best lists from this past weekend for demons. We've got a few Shadow Legion lists still, but nice to see a few more Plague Legion lists pop up, and of course, we've still got some Demon Conclusion. Unfortunately, still not much on front of Scintillating Blood or Legion of Excess. We've got some pretty interesting lists to look at. Again, there was a lot of good performing Shadow Legion lists, so I think we should be prepared to see a nerf to Shadow Legion. I think Faded Darkness will get nerfed, and then I'm not sure what else, but we'll see. But yes, we actually have some Plague Legion lists, which gets me excited because I do like a bit of Plague Legion. So before we get into the rest of this video, if you like what we do here, consider liking and subscribing. It's huge and helps the channel out massively and is hugely appreciated. And then if you want to further contribute and love the channel, what we do here, consider becoming a true then as a member here on YouTube, where you can get access to some more technical content and stuff like that. So let's look at some of the best lists. I picked a few of them. First, we've got Tyler Uten, who went 4-1 at the March to War, like Warp 5 minis. So we've got a Shadow Legion list there. Only Be'lakor rocking as the only demon character, so no Bloodthirster, which is super interesting. I like it. But Be'lakor is just still amazing. Not mandatory, though I do think he should be. But Be'lakor is huge. You know, he gets the list ticking with his, Rifting Shade stopping you from being shot from further out, plus the reroll ones when you need it. And in himself, he's actually a really good damage dealer now, especially in Shadow Legion. So, yeah, really, really solid. We've got 9 Nurglings, which are insanely annoying to deal with, especially for armies that need to deal with them in combat. Because obviously in combat, they make enemy units -1 to hit in engagement range of them, and then because it's Shadow Legion, anything that's going to be strength 4 or higher will be -1 to wound them. So 9 Nurglings is a lot of wounds that are surprisingly annoying to chew through, and that can be used as a real annoying roadblock. So I like that. I like the big block of 9 Nurglings. We've got 10 Pink Warriors. I really like that. I've run Pink Warriors in all my Shadow Legion lists so far. They're just really good at -1 to hit. That's the difference between them being wiped out in one go and not, and then being able to split. And it just makes them again another tar pit to deal with. One that can actually hold midfield objectives quite nicely and help you with it primary. Since the pinks are OC2 and obviously the blues and brims are OC1, being able to return pinks back to the squad with the Death and Ice strat is pretty decent as well. Plus, obviously, returning models with past battle shot tests in the Shadows of Chaos. So yeah, it gives him some nice primary holding there. We then have 2 units of Flesh Hounds for that nice 12-inch moving action, advanced and charging, annoying tagging unit that can also go uppy downy for free. That's really handy. They're just great. Flesh Hounds are just a really solid unit to have in your list. 3 Screamers, again, an annoying -1 to hit for up in Von 3 wound apiece unit to deal with. Plus, they can put out some fairly decent combat, especially with access to Lance. Means they can go into like 5-man Marine equivalent style units and actually do some real work. Plus, being anti-monster, anti-vehicle 4+ allows them to, finish off vehicles you may have painted over a turn or two. So that's quite nice. Then we have a Zinch Soul Grinder, so throwing out those B3 blast, strength 12, B6+2 damage warp gauge shots, plus being a vehicle, giving you access to tank shock, and then some really nice high strength, high damage close combat as well. And then of course being -1 to hit since it is Zinch, which is really, really nice. And then we do have a few Space Marine stuff. We've got a Chaos Lord with Fade to Darkness, so his unit will be killing something in the fight phase and then disappearing. Pretty nice. 10 chosen with all the fixings. I would assume this is where the Chaos Lord goes, so they can, advance and charge, get in. They've got a bunch of combat attacks plus the Lord's combat, and then once per game he can go like Super Saiyan. Count something, go away, come back down. You can use Lord's once we're back around free strat or -1 CP strat ability, meaning you can rapid ingress for free, basically, which is really nice. Um, we then have 10 cultists to hold the backfield with Sticky, and then 2 units of Havoc with Laser Cannon, so they're very good to sit around Bellacor's Rift and Shades Aura, throwing, 4 high strength, high damage shots out at 48-inch range while only being targetable within 18. Just really, really solid. And then not suffering any penalties to their hit rolls or weapon skill, like police skill, sorry, because of their ability. Just really nice. And can still Dark Pact. And then we have a Master of Possession with 10 possessed, which I like. I like the 10 possessed. I've ran it a bit. Not tried the Master Possession out yet. He does have Leaping Shadows. So, you can have 10 possessed. There'll be Scouting 9 and then running into something with a 9-inch move. The Master Possessions, I think, did it give them +1 advance and charge? I believe that I can't advance and charge, sadly. But yeah, it's just a really it's a unit I could put a long punch early on, but the 9-inch scout. It's basically an 18-inch turn one move. If he goes first, he just yeets them forward, 18 inches, and then has a +1 to the charge roll. And then obviously, like we said, we've got the uppy downy bunk and bash Lord and Chosen with advance and charge on them, plus some uppy downy flesh hounds, a nice funky soul grinder was a nice annoying to deal with block of 9 Nagman. So overall, I like it. It's a very interesting Shadow Legion list. It's a bit different. No ACDC, no Bloodthirster, no Bloodletters. That's pretty cool. Um, we do have products. I think we are just seeing a lot of products around, but overall, I like it. I think it's different and it's well different enough. And it's pretty cool. Next, we've got Mark Murray, who went, I think, 5-0 at the Tennessee Elite Open GT. Another Shadow Legion list, but different to the one we just seen. So we've got Be'lakor, Bloodthirster, Afraid to Darkness. That guy is solid. He goes in, he wants something, he goes away. The weakness of the Bloodthirster is he can go in most of the time, kill something when he doesn't decide to whiff. And then the problem is he's now out in the open and he just dies. This fixes that. He's very good at screen clearing. He's very good at, whomping things that aren't incredibly tough for good invulnerable saves. If he weakens something, he can generally finish it off, and then he disappears, and then he comes back and does it again. So it kind of fixes the issue Bloodthirster stuff. And then we just got Lord of Change. I don't rate the Lord of Change that highly outside of the Everstave and Infernal Puppeteer, but -1 to hit, 4 up invuln, 18 wounds. He's a bit tanky, a little bit. He's essentially a keeper of secrets at this point now, since I don't have him funds anymore. And it gives you some mid to short range shooting, plus gives you buffs to Zinch stuff nearby if you have any Zinch stuff with +1 strength to shooting, and a Zinch shadow aura. We've got 210 bloodletters, advance and charge, OC2, damage 2, pretty solid. Bloodletters are solid in this detachment, they're very good. 2 units of 3 flamers, so good action units, -1 to hit, 4 up invuln, same as the screamers, but move not as fast. And of course, they can give you some Overwatch threat, which is quite nice with their flamers. 2 units of flesh hounds, like we said in the last list, good cheap source of uppy downy, advance and charge tagging. They're just very good utility units. 3 units of screamers, again, very speedy, very good at tipping down on vehicles, picking on little 5-man marine equivalent or less units. And then being quite tanky. Like in the weekend, ran a list. I had a couple units of 3 screamers in. And my opponent, I was playing against Custodes, and he had he fired. I think he fired. What did he fire into him? He fired a Terminator into them, and a unit of guard. And oh no, sorry, Draxus's unit twice, and a unit of guard. Sorry, so that's 4 guard plus Draxus, and then another 4 guard plus Greygen, and barely killed the unit 3 screamers because that -1 hit just managed to do a lot of work. So yeah, it's solid. They're really, really good units. I love screamers. And then we have a unit of cultists again, cheap backfield sticky. It's good. And then 2 units of las cannon havoc. So very interesting list. The line change is a very interesting inclusion here. I'm not seeing the massive value in it personally, but it clearly worked for Mark. But yes, as we said, very different to the last one. There's a good shooting base here. You got the 2 units of Havoc plus the Lord of Change plus Be'lakor. And then the Bloodthirster goes around picking things off, running away, coming back to it again. The Bloodletters are running in, hitting objectives. Screamers and Flamers darting around doing objectives, doing secondaries, Fleshhounds doing the same, and then plenty of speed to just grab things. So solid. I like it. It's a cool list and it's different, which is nice. We're seeing a slightly different list to the last one. And a lot of change makes it a very interesting list. Next we have Juan Jose Menendez, I believe, who went to the I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it. It was a GT in what I would assume is Spain. I could be wrong. He did go 4-on-1 with Demonic Incursion, so the classic. So we've got Be'lakor, you've got your Endless Gift Ground Clean one, Standard, the Ever Stable Order Change, Nice, and Scarbrand. I think that's a pretty solid monster core for Incursion. Monstergus is the only other option I feel like is a must-have. Either in addition or instead of the Lord of Change. But this is you're going to see Be'lakor, the Endless Gift Ground Clean one still, of course, and Scarbrand in pretty much every Incursion list, and then it's going to be, Rotigus, Lords of Change, maybe Bloodthirst is kind of making appearances. So solid monster core there. Of course, Incursion is the monster list. That's where you're going to see 4 to 5 Greater Demons, or Be'lakor plus a few Greater Demons. Template Bearer is standard for the battlefield sticky that can come up mid to late game and do stuff in the middle to back of the board. 3 individual Beasts of Nurgle, that's quite cool. Gives them early scout, tough action units that can actually be not bad in combat when they hit. Yeah, 3 Beasts of Nurgle is nice utility. 1 unit of Fleshhounds and 2 Zinch Soul Grinders. So these Soul Grinders are going to sit with the Lord of Change plus Be'lakor. He can keep them safe. They're pinging out good high strength shooting because the Warp Gates will be strength 13 within 6 of the Lord of Change. Harvester Cannon will be strength 11 at 3 damage. And obviously DC plus 2 damage on the Warp Gaze. So yeah, I mean, it's a solid shooting core plus, good action utility from Beasts and Fleshhounds. Scarbrand gives you a real hard punch. The Going Flame gives you a nice solid, midfield objective holder. And Be'lakor keeps it all together. So yeah, solid. Really cool, really good incursion list. And I think if you're looking at still running incursion, which is very viable, incursion is still great. This is a very, very good base to run it off. The Soul Grinders inclusion here is really nice. If you'd have to run them on bases, yeah, go for it. I think it's a very good incursion list. Next, we have Derek. I can't pronounce his last name. I've tried in the past. I'm not going to try. He did go 6-0 at the Battle to End Alzheimer's 2025 GT. I believe this was streamed on War Games Live. So um, the event was streamed on War Games Live. I don't know if Derek was on or not. Didn't fully watch all of the stream. I did see there was at least one demon game on there, but I didn't really pay attention to who it was. But it could be Derek, so check that out. If it is. He went 6-0, like we said, solid performance. Shadow Legion with Be'lakor, Faded Darkness, Bloodthirster, and then an Exalted Flamer, which is an interesting inclusion. Of course, the Exalted Flamer is going to give a unit of Screamers, a unit of Flamers attached to Assault, so they can advance and shoot. Pretty good. And then after he shot something, you roll a dice again. I think it has to be an infantry unit, and you roll a dice on 4+. That unit -2 to its move and charge and advance, I believe. Lovely move and charge. It's been a while since I ran Exalted Flamers, but that in a combination with the -2 to charge strat off of this detachment can actually be really insane. You can make a unit basically nearly like unable to charge, which is quite nice. We have a unit of 3 Nurglings for a nice bit of infiltrate, countering other infiltrators and, stopping scouts. And then Template Bearers, which are still solid in Shadow Legion, T5 at -1 the wound against T's strength 6 or higher is solid with 2 wounds apiece. That makes them quite hard to deal with. We've got 6 Flamers, which will have the Exalted Flamer inside, presumably. And then we've got 2 units of Fleshhounds for the Copy Downer utility with the advance and charge. 5 Seekers for a nice 9-inch scout. We've got 10 Eclipse Cultists and 6. So 10 Mutants, 6 Torments, the 16 full block of Eclipse Cultists. And they do have a Dark Commune, He's got Leaping Shadow, so they will be scouting 9 at the beginning of the game. They have the once per game advance and charge, plus 1 hit from the wound in addition to that. Makes them a very annoying, really, target kind of damage dealing unit. And can really, especially with the 5 Seekers. Yes, 2 9-inch scouting units. And that can really put out, the Seekers moving 14. The Accursed Cult is moving 6 with an advance and charge. And really just look an opponent in for a good turn or two. We have Terminator Lord, which this guy is popping up, and I don't think he's inside of a unit of Terminators. Um, doesn't look like it. So yeah, this guy's popping up for 95 points. He's a cheap action unit that is actually really tough. His T4, 5 or 6 wounds, cheap armor, 4 invuln, and then Chaos Terminator Lord's just 4 damage. So that makes him really tanky. Top armor, 4 invuln, get him some cover. So now he's, against AP 1 or less, he's on a top armor save. And then levels of 4 invuln, half from damage, and then he's got his ability to um reduce the strength by 1 when used on his unit, and he doesn't have to be attached to a unit to do it, so he can just do it on himself. So you can drop him down, do an action like, I don't know, cleanse or containment or established locus, and then at the end of your opponent's turn, he takes a beating, survives for free. You pick him up alongside of a demon unit, and then he can do it all over again. So yeah, solid little 95-point action unit that's actually pretty tanky. I think is a really good tech piece for Shadow Legion. 2 10 so 2 more sources of sticky, plus with the template gives him a fair bit of sticky play. And again, for 50 points, they're just an absolute steal. It's interesting to know whether he'll. I assume 1 unit of 10 Cottis will start on the battlefield, and then play bearers and Cottis will start to go forward. They might potentially deep strike. But then he's got the option for up and downing as well, which is quite nice. And like we said, the Dark Commune with the Leaping Shadows, and then 2 units of Las Cannon Havocs. They're becoming very, very common now. 2 units of Las Cannon Havocs for Shadow Legion. Um, because again, they sit in Bellicle's aura and they're unshootable outside of 18 while shooting at 48 inches. It is just a really nice, uninteractive little kind of base to have. So yeah, very good list. And like I said, 6-0, so really good showing from Derek. Then we've saved what gets me most excited to the last. We've got 2 Plague Legion lists to look at, and then we'll call it a day. We've got Derek Ramsey at the Amarillo Warhammer 40k GT, running Plague Legion, which is the Nurgle detachment, which we love. This is more of a, I think this is more of a, first iteration style Plague Legion, what we saw before the last update. So we've got our Winged Demon Prince with the Font of Spores. Oh no, he's not. Sorry, I take that back. He's not a Winged Demon Prince. He's a fuck Demon Prince with Want the Spore. So he's given out 6-inch aura of, minus an additional -1 AP or an additional point of AP on your Nurgle units, as well as giving out that stealth aura, and then once per game through up invuln on himself, while still also having 6 strength 8 -3 damage attacks in combat, and 3 strength 5 -2 damage shots as well. We've got Bedemius for Wimbledon for his unit, and then you have your tally each in your command phase. If your tally of destroyed models by Nurgle units is at 7 or higher, you reduce it to 0, gain SCP. It's quite nice because you've got quite a good few strats you want to be using in this detachment. We've got the Danish Shroud Duo, which is basically like Fat Bellicor. So don't shoot my stuff outside of 18. Rotigus, who is just fantastic, 24-inch +1 damage for Nurgle units against a certain enemy unit. And then the half -2 move, -1 OC. Aura as well, plus also just been a bit of a hammer. He's pretty good in combat. And then we've got, of course, the Clank Blight Bile Piper. That guy's solid, killing very high value models for failed battle shocks. It's really nice. 2 of 6 Nurglings are just, again, solid for 60 points. A good projecting shadow projectors, because Melancholic Miasma for Plague Legion, giving that 9-inch aura of Shadow of Chaos for your opponent, meaning you can really project those battle shocks out. 2 units of Plague Bearers, solid, they're going to have Epidemius and Bile Piper in it. 2 units of 2 Beasts and a unit of 1 Beast. I really rate the unit of 2 Beasts now with Scout. And then obviously in this detachment, again, makes them quite nice. You can give them +1 force and a battle shock as well with the strap, which is really, really nice. Um, a nice inclusion of a unit of 3 here, just give you a bit of uppy downy utility. And then 2 Nurgle grinders, giving you some indirect, some solid punching power, and just 2 really nice backfield sweepers if you need them. So yeah, really interesting list. It's very similar to Lawrence's list, who was on the channel not that long ago. So I think this kind of fits into that early, you know, pre recent update League Legion Archetype that we've been seeing around. But this next one by Roman Kennett, who went, I can't remember, it's 4-1, 5-0. I think it was four. It could have been 5-0. 4-0, 4-1, 5-0. I can't remember. With this list, and this is a list a bit more similar to something I'm looking at running for Plague Legion. So we've got 2 duos, one with Font Spores, one with Drowning Shroud. I think with the recent updates around Clean ones, I do just think they're slightly better than the Demon Princes, though I do think the footprints are still solid with the Stealth Aura. Um, Giving him the Stealth Aura and Drowning Shroud actually is quite a nice little, defensive piece. Um, and then, yeah, so we've got one giving out the don't shoot us with that outside of 18, one giving +1 AP aura, solid, plus they're also, multiple -1 toughness debuffs they can put out and stack you on top of each other if they need it. And then also just being actually fairly decent in combat now. Guys are solid. Um, we've got the Poxbringer giving a 6 draw of -1 battle shock to enemy units. Pretty good in this attachment, it's fantastic. Also gives a unit of Plague Berries is attached to critical hits on 5s, meaning you'd have to spend the strat to do it, and they're just lethal on 5s, which is quite nice. Rotigus, the +1 damage buff, as well as the -2 move, -1 OC debuff, and then again just being an absolute, brick monster himself. Then we've got the Ball Piper, like we just spoke about him. He's just solid auto take in this attachment. And then the Changeling, which is again an interesting tech piece that we've seen pop up in Plague Legion lists, forcing battle shocks on enemy units that target him, potentially turning off opponent shooting if they're within 12 and visible to him at the start of the opponent's shooting phase. That's really solid. 3, 4, 5, 5 units of play bearers, 50 play bearers. I like that a lot. No Maglins, it was interesting. I think we would drop a unit of play bearers just to take, multiple units of Nurglings, but that's just me. 50 play bearers is still solid. A single beast and 2 Nurgle grinders. So very, very cool list. I mean, we are seeing grinders pop up all over the place. Again, if you'd have to take them on bases, take them. They're very, very good. And this Legion and Plague Legion, they're pretty solid. And I think they've definitely got some play in Shadow Legion as well. So yeah, so that's some of the best performing lists from this past weekend. Some very cool, interesting lists. We are seeing Shadow Legion definitely popping up and being the most popular of the detachments, um, which is cool. It's just now a little bit sad because it means we probably will eventually see it get slapped a little bit. But it's very similar to how Legion of Excess was, where it was just, a lot of the lists you are seeing are Shadow Legion, but it's because it's a very fun and interesting list, a detachment, and one you can build a lot of different list types out of. We're seeing Havocs pop up a lot, the Faded Darkness Bloodthirster, and then of course Be'lakor. Be'lakor should be in this detachment, like mandatory in my opinion, but he is in pretty much every Shadow Legion list anyway, because he's just very, very good. So, yeah, some very interesting lists. I think it's definitely shaping up, and we can see how we are looking in the meta. But hopefully we start to see, a little bit more Plague Legion incursion play, which we're seeing anyway. Maybe see some scintillating pop up more. I don't expect we'll see much in the way of Legion of Access anytime soon. And Blood Legion is an interesting one. So, thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you all in the next one.